Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Tarot by the Book. Tarot by the Book is a new series on my channel where I will provide a week ahead reading. I like to read intuitively from a randomly selected deck. And then together we take a look at the guidebook and just sort of see what the guidebook has to say also about the 3 cards that I drew for us. It's a really fun way to get a reading, but also to sort of learn what a deck creator has to say about the cards that we drew, kind of get a feel for what the guidebook is like, and maybe learn by hearing different interpretations for the cards from different deck creators. Not everybody has a large deck collection and gets to really compare and contrast different deck creators' takes on cards, and I find that to be one of the most fun things about having a larger collection, and this gives me a way to sort of share that experience with you guys. So this week I have randomly selected, I use a random name generator, the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot. This is a really beautiful deck. It's by Uusi. You can get it at uusi.us. I believe it's still available. I could be wrong on that. My copy is from 2016. One thing that's really interesting about this deck is it does come with some extra cards. You have a significator card called the Seeker, which I'll just leave out on the table here for us. And then you have some moon phase cards, which I won't be using in the reading today, but they are really lovely. They have almost like a shimmery, glittery sort of effect to them. The cardstock on this deck is really lovely. It's linen, so it's like a playing card finish. Now, I will have some timestamps down below so that you can jump to the part of this video that you are the most interested in. I'll be jumping ahead next after I show you some cards here to our week ahead reading. So if you want to participate in that, there'll be a timestamp to jump right to when we get started on that part. At the end, I'll be, from the 3 cards that I've read for you, we'll dive into the guidebook, so I'll have a timestamp to when we start doing that if you're more interested in sort of the study portion of this video. And that's about it. So this artwork, as you can see, is really beautiful. It's fairly pippish, but it's got some sort of nods or hints to the Rider-Waite Smith. It's very beautifully painted and absolutely stunning to look at. So let's dive in. If you want to participate with the reading portion of today's video, then I encourage you to take a couple deep breaths and center yourself while I'm shuffling. I'm going to be pulling 3 card positions: energy, obstacle, and advice. Now I'm going to be approaching these cards from the perspective of your week ahead. However, if you would like to focus on a particular question, a situation in your life that those 3 positions might be helpful to you, then you can take what I say about the week ahead in those 3 positions and apply them to your specific situation and see what sort of insight you gain from that process. Or you can just focus on what you most need to know for the week ahead and approach the reading that way. It's entirely up to you. You can just take in what resonates and leave the rest. All right, so I'm just going to hit this with a little bit of my cleansing smoke bundle here and a little bit of Palo Santo. There we go. Perfect. And I'm going to give it one last shuffle and a cut, and we'll get started with today's reading. All right, so let's take a look first at the energy. Ace of Pentacles. The obstacle, 2 of Cups. And the advice, the 6 of Cups. The Ace of Pentacles is a card that speaks to the potential of the earthly suit. And the earthly suit is very much about manifestation, our work, sometimes our life's work, not always like just day-to-day work, but sometimes day-to-day work. It also speaks to sort of the abundance or the material security in our lives. The ace is sort of the epitome of the entire suit, the sort of nucleus or seed of the suit. And so putting all of that information together, intuitively what I'm getting for everybody this week, or for those that this reading is really meant for, is that this week is going to be a week about new starts, potential, or opportunities coming your way. So there's going to be something sort of budding this week, just beginning. You know how when you're looking at a seed, maybe you can't really watch this because a seed is typically underground, but a seed will first sprout and it will start to dig its roots and it will start to come up. And eventually you'll have a full-blown plant that is both grown deep and grown upward. And the seed or the ace is really that moment of pure potential when something is just beginning. Now, this is a really positive inbound energy in your upcoming week, but it's going to be important to pay attention and to nurture that seed should you want to. You have choice, right? The opportunity or that new pure potential that comes your way could be something you're not quite ready to water just yet. You might need to let it sit dormant for a little while, but the energy or the invitation is going to be to pay attention and to notice when this comes your way, when you get that little burst of newness or that new information, that new opportunity, and to decide how you want to proceed. So the overall energy of this week is about that new opportunity. The obstacle that we're facing this week has to do with our relationships. Now, the Two of Cups is a card about balanced connection and that impetus of the beginning of a relationship. Not necessarily a romantic relationship, although that could be the case. Two of Cups is when two people come together and they're both sort of in that place of equally giving and equally pulling from that relationship. There's a balance there. So in the obstacle position, I'm going to read this card a little bit more in shadow and say that there's going to be an upcoming instance this week where you feel or sense an imbalance in a relationship in your life. So this is somebody you have a personal, possibly a business relationship with, although I really feel like this is going to be more personal relationship. This could be a friend, a family member, a partner, a love interest, any of those kinds of connections. But you're going to feel a little bit of that friction that happens when either you feel like you're giving too much and not getting enough, or you feel like, or your partner or the other person in the dynamic relationship feels like they're not quite getting enough or giving enough. There's going to be some kind of a little bit of a hiccup in this particular area. Now, if this is showing up in your work world, which I don't think, because we've got two cups here, so I do think this is a personal relationship. However this is showing up for you, just remember to stay grounded and be present. One of the things that gets us into trouble when these sort of momentary bits of friction come up is that we focus on the friction and not the foundation. And what I'm really getting from this image right now is that it's going to be important to remember this week the foundation of that relationship. If it's romantic, think about the good stuff, like don't get too hung up on any potential conflict. Same thing at work. Is the relationship generally okay and somebody's just having an off day? Keep that in mind and sort of approach things mindfully this week. In general, our advice card is the Six of Cups, which is interesting because what I got from the Two of Cups was a sensation that there's going to be a feeling of a lack of balance, too much give, not enough take, or vice versa. The Six of Cups is sort of a reminder to remember or to focus on the sweetness in that relationship, the positive. Kind of like what I said here with the foundation, but this brings us a little bit more into territory of specifically remembering the gifts in that relationship. What is it you normally get out of it? And remember that getting something out of a relationship doesn't have to be a tangible thing, right? Think about how this person typically makes you feel and move forward this week from that place. It's interesting to see that we have this sort of opportunity coming our way, and then this friction and this reminder to remember the gift, which is interesting. It could be that whatever opportunity comes up is what's going to create some friction in that relationship. For example, if we take this into a work context, this could be a potential opportunity for a new position, a raise, something along those lines, and some concern perhaps that might cause some friction with a coworker. But a reminder to remember that whew, that just came out of my mouth. But this is perhaps a reminder to focus on what lies under that relationship besides just that stuff. Like if this is somebody that you're friends with that maybe wants to go out for the same position, again, I'm just putting this in the context of a work situation. But this could also be something where there's a potential for a investment in something. Perhaps you're married and there's an opportunity to make a bid on a property. And that causes some friction. One person's not quite sure, the other person is sure, and there feels like an imbalance. Remember what lies at the foundation. Remember the gifts of that relationship and let this be your guiding force, not necessarily this. So kind of come at it from that place. All right, guys. So with that said, let's jump into what the guidebook has to say about these three cards. So the guidebook for the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot is really beautifully put together and absolutely gorgeous. Let's dive into our Ace of Pentacles and see what it has to say. Pentacles is usually at the end. There we go. So here's our Ace of Pentacles. Just going to put the real card there. All right. Floating in a clear sky inside a garland of roses and lilies is a disc woven from grass and aged to a golden patina. There is a warm light that emanates from this medallion of something pulled from the dark and brought to light, moving upwards in joy. The Ace of Pentacles is the harbinger of beginnings, full of shapes, figures, objects, ideas, and movement. It is a time ripe with hope made manifest. And the 3 keywords are manifestation, opportunity, and prosperity. Moving ahead to the 2, and I do think that echoes what I was saying about a new opportunity or that new energy coming in this week. Let's take a look at our 2 of Cups. And here, let's make sure we're in frame here. On a cliff above a winding river, Earth's first lovers lean gently into each other. That's what we see here with the stones. Their gesture creating an opening that resembles an eye between them, through which a river can be seen. The past, present, and future, their conversation, extend like that river into an endless blue sky. This card expresses how powerfully our thoughts are drawn to each other and shape the world around us. It is a card of lovers, friendship, and soulmates. It encompasses the extension of ourself out into the world, and especially through another whose hopes and dreams we can share, encourage, and help to realize. Soulmate, partnership, and friendship. So again, when we're looking at this in the context of the week ahead, and in the position of the obstacle, then that is where I came to the conclusion rather that we're looking at perhaps some conflict within that relationship that might otherwise be harmonious. And finally, let's take a look at our 6 of Cups. And here we have our childhood shapes us in ways we benefit from and wrestle with our entire lives. It shapes and influences our inner selves. Often our memories of that time reach back into a world that was much simpler, a time less structured, when we were free to wander and follow our thoughts wherever they led us. The 6 of Cups is about discovering that meandering path and reconnecting with it, if only for a moment, to cross over and into the place where your dreams began. Again, that's where I get that whole foundation of a relationship. Finding this bridge is like suddenly emerging at an open place of tranquility and contentment after a long journey through a dense forest, a place where you are truly at home and can relax. The scene on this card is one of those golden moments. A warm afternoon light shines on a rolling meadow with a well-fed cow in its pasture and a home nestled safely in a small cluster of trees. Here you were understood and nourished. Here you believed in your feelings and followed them through. It is the space right on the edge of the life that we shared with the world. In this place, we dream our stories and hold them close. We dreamt our stories and held them close as they held us together. And the path that began with those dreams is the one worth following. Nostalgia, childhood, and dreams. Being the nostalgia card, this is partly where I get this idea of when we have conflict that arises in our relationships, whether professional or personal, this reminder to remember what the relationship, reminder to remember, I just did it again. But this advice to remember the foundation, or remember all the gifts of that relationship or of that situation so that you stay grounded and don't necessarily react just in that moment. All right, everybody. So this is this week's Tarot by the Book. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really, really enjoyed, I can't talk. I really enjoyed working with the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot. This was really fun. I find this deck is a little bit how do I say this right? It feels wiser and slower than some of my other decks. It feels like it provides those more in-depth messages, and it has a tendency to feel a little bit quiet and a little bit pure. So thank you again so much for hanging out for Tarot by the Book, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, you guys. Bye.